Have you ever thought about what would happen if your favorite true crime story collided with the world of real estate? It sounds like a weird mashup, I know. But when these two worlds crash into each other, you uncover some pretty shocking stories hiding right under the surface of what looks like just a simple signed contract.
So let me ask you this. What on earth do true crime podcasts and real estate deals actually have in common? I mean, on the surface, absolutely nothing, right? One's about gripping crime stories, the other's about buying and selling homes. But the real connection is way more compelling, and honestly, more important than you might think.
And that connection has a name. It's a new podcast called True Crimes of Real Estate. And its whole mission is to pull back the curtain on the industry to expose the very real dangers that are so often hiding in plain sight, right up until it's way too late.
Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't just about sensational, gory stories. The show absolutely uses that investigative style we all love, but its real purpose is to break down actual enforcement cases and regulatory failures. Why? To teach some incredibly crucial lessons. Lessons that anyone working in real estate really needs to hear. And the people leading this charge, the ones behind the microphone, they're not just podcast hosts. They are two seasoned industry pros who know exactly where the bodies are buried, so to speak.
So on one side, you've got Troy Palmquist. He's a true industry veteran, the founder of Home Code Advisors. And on the other mic is Summer Gorolich, a compliance expert who, and you gotta love this, used to be a real estate crime investigator for the Orange County DA's office. So yeah, this isn't just a hosting duo. This is a powerhouse of inside track knowledge and legit investigative expertise.
Their mission couldn't be clearer. They dive deep into the real-world fallout from compliance breakdowns. This show is tailor-made for brokers, for agents, for executives, basically for anyone who needs to understand that the decisions they make have very real consequences when it comes to risk and responsibility.
A podcast like this doesn't just pop up out of the blue. Its timing is kind of perfect, actually. It's landing right at the intersection of two huge trends, one happening in our culture at large, and the other happening deep inside the real estate industry itself.
Okay, first, there's the whole true crime boom. I mean, we've all seen it. Shows like Serial became these massive cultural events, and you can't open a streaming service without seeing investigative documentaries everywhere. We, as an audience, are absolutely hooked on this kind of storytelling.
So, at the exact same time that's happening, something else is going on in the world of real estate. The industry has become a much bigger target for scammers, and all these new changes have made compliance way more complicated, and the stakes are just getting higher and higher.
And to prove this is more than just talk, the podcast really grounds these ideas in reality. It's not about abstract fears. It's about sharing very specific, concrete examples of what happens when things go really, really wrong.
In the very first episode, it's a perfect case study. It follows this property management company in California that was just going through what was supposed to be a totally routine audit. But, as you can probably guess, what they found was anything but routine.
The audit dug up a $70,000 hole. That's right, $70,000 in trust account discrepancies. Now that's not just some simple accounting error. That is a massive shortfall, and it points to a serious, systemic breakdown in how that company was doing business. As co-host Troy Palmquist puts it, this wasn't just a clerical slip-up. It was a complete failure to follow the most basic, fundamental rules for handling other people's money. The very bedrock of the entire business.
And right here, this is the absolute heart of the podcast's whole philosophy. Palmquist makes this amazing point. Compliance isn't just some annoying box you have to check. It's not a hurdle you have to get over. It is literally one of the clearest ways to measure a successful, well-run business.
So when you kind of zoom out and look at the big picture, a show like this is a signal of something much bigger. It's not just entertainment for real estate folks. It's a signpost pointing to a major shift in how we should be thinking about professional education and managing risk.
For the people this podcast is aimed at, the value is obvious and immediate. You learn to actually understand risk better. You really grasp your professional responsibilities. And maybe most importantly, you get to learn from the expensive, painful mistakes of others without having to make them yourself. And that, right there, is the real genius of this whole thing. The podcast basically hijacks the power of addictive, story-driven narratives to make some really complex, and let's be real, sometimes super boring professional education actually engaging. And because it's a story, it's memorable. It sticks with you. Which kind of leaves us with this one big, fascinating question. Is this the future of professional training?
Are we moving toward a world where the best way to learn really complex rules and regulations isn't from a textbook, but by listening to compelling stories about what happens when those rules get broken? It's a pretty powerful idea, that's for sure.